Alrighty, and boom! Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody is having an absolutely delightful weekend so far. I am fried. For those of you who don't know, my initially I generally stream on Fridays, but I had to work on some edits for some videos I'm editing for work that completely completely just took over my Friday and then wrecked me. So I am very sleepy, very tired. But looking forward to just a chill Saturday stream, trying to make it up, get some writing sprints in, work on some good things, and yeah, that's kind of the plan. Since I keep trying to get a normal stream schedule, but I might have to wait till I finish these videos. Blast them for paying my bills. But yeah, hopefully everybody out there is having a good day. I'll go and bring that down. But yeah, I think for the first part of the day, I'm just going to be reading up. Schwab just dropped, for anybody out there who's an RPG nerd, or tabletop RPG nerd. Schwab had just dropped the Shadows of the Weird Wizard that he kickstarted, and I'm a big fan of his. Big fan of just like he was a designer for 5th edition that kind of went off to go do his own thing, and I'm a pretty big fan of what he's up to. So probably going to spend the first part of the stream working on that before I dip in and work on the mech stuff. So that is the plan for the day. But for everybody out there, hopefully the words treat you well. And yeah, just kind of keep it pretty mellow, I think, for the day. But yeah, we'll go and dive into our first sprint as people kind of filter in and out, and yeah, get to work on this fine Saturday. All right, let me go ahead and kick on the music. And yeah, and away we go. Happy writing, everybody. We will see you on the other side. All right, everybody, that is the end of that sprint. Ghostly and Nell, welcome in, welcome in. Hopefully the weekend and the words are going well. Sounds like you had a thrilling D&D encounter, Ghostly. I'm gonna bring the music down just a hair. It's actually, it's funny that you discovered Baldur's Gate today, because since I'm too fried mentally to write or be able to work that much, I'm reading one of my favorite RPG creators just dropped a new RPG, so I'm reading the rule book for that. So very, very on topic for the day. Ghostly, since I'm the only character out of 4 with a brain, I suggested the name Mostly Unintelligent, which has devolved into the MU Crew. That's good. MU Crew is a good name. That's the Mostly Unintelligent Crew. See, the abbreviation's nice, because at least if people inquire, then you can kind of, have a good time. Have a good time bringing. Oh, the Moo Crew? Of course it is. I think the last campaign I ran for everybody through COVID, with like all the dads and all my friends, I think they ended up calling themselves the Bastards of Bexia. I think that was the name they finally fell on. No, yay! I made a really nice pasta. It was a lovely amount of mozzarella top. Oh, that sounds so good. That sounds so delectably good. I want pasta now. I literally just had noodles too. I do like a soba noodle thing for like my breakfast. But now I want pasta with rich mozzarella, like full Italian pasta. So good. Ghostly, that's significantly more cool. Don't worry, they had to make themselves sound cool because they fucked up and almost, well, they pretty much did end the universe, but they were able to salvage it. So now the universe is just gonna die via entropy slowly over time instead of just blinking out of existence. But they needed to make something sound like they were cool, even though I can't tell you how many times they had a character who would just keep picking up random just evil objects and annihilate himself and send himself to hell, and the people would have to go rescue him from hell. So that was always a good time. I only made the pasta bake because I didn't want to wash the cooking trays. I feel that to an intense degree. I actually need to thaw a bunch of fish and cook a bunch of salmon. And I have not done it because I've been holding off. I have like little thaw pans that I put in the fridge to thaw all the like frozen meats, and I have not cleaned them, and that is the only reason I haven't thawed anything yet. So I viscerally, deeply, emotionally understand that now. This is the part of adulting I'm terrible at. Ghostly, but then the session ended with our barbarian. And our only other female getting kidnapped. Why? Okay, why? Enough kidnapping. I have notes for your DM. No more kidnapping. No more kidnapping. You only get one. You need to space it out a little bit, because then there's too much kidnapping going on. So now it's a joke that the DM just keeps trying to make us into damsels. He's not. It's just very funny and unfortunate coincidence. Got it. That is funny, though. I mean, it's kidnapping a barbarian's risky, man. That's a risky move. But that's where I would call an improv audible as a DM and be like, I'm not doing another kidnapping thing right after doing a kidnapping. It's too much back to back. To be fair, my speculation was wrong. I was never actually kidnapped, just put to sleep and tied to a chair. That's kidnapping, Ghostly. That is the same thing. Just you don't necessarily have to move someone. You have trapped somebody. you have taken them, knocked them unconscious, and trapped them somewhere. It does not count. Does not count. I was never moved from my primary location. Okay, so I guess instead of calling it kidnapping, you are with the part. So how did he put you all to sleep? How did he tie you to a chair? I'm assuming the whole party was asleep then. And also, why didn't he... Okay, yeah, he did mass... Okay, yeah, I mean, sleep is like an HP. It relies on hit points. Why didn't he move? I don't... What? Now I don't understand why he didn't just move you away from everybody else. Like, why he tied you to a chair. Like, while everyone else was there. That's... I have thoughts and I have questions, Ghostly. I have thoughts and I have questions. That is too... But that's too much... Okay, instead of calling it kidnapping, since you didn't... Oh, everyone was tied to chairs. Got it. Okay, I thought it was just you. Okay, I feel better about that. Okay. Yes. Okay, it was equal opportunity. That's good. Okay. All right, I feel better about that. Although I'm still going to call it damseling, but I guess if everybody was tied to the chair, then kind of everybody was the damsel in that case. This twisted prick wanted me to mass murder my party. Oh, that's great. That's okay. I'm on board with that. That's good villain material. I could see that. I've definitely done that many times with my villains where I'm like, you could kill everybody and it would help you out. It would behoove you to do so. That's a favorite move of mine. So I appreciate that. That's a good move. Now, my current game, I play a dwarf fighter. Awesome. Called Karat. I hope I pronounced that correctly now. Karat or Carrot. I'm assuming it's not carrot, like carrot, unless you're trying to be funny with it, or Karat. I don't know if it's long A or soft A. We freed a giant metal bull, from captivity and helped... Okay, said like carrot. Got it. Okay, so it is like carrot. Cool. Carrot. We freed a giant metal bull from captivity and helped sick it on some chimeric trash bears. I love the term, like, I'm assuming like a chimera. Chimera trash bears found the werebear captors, rounded them up, and now we're taking them to town to face justice for their crimes, which involve grand theft of lumber. I love it. I love that so much. I also just love chimeric trash bears. That is, that's a chef's kiss. Oh, I love it so much. Love it. I did almost kill... I remember I had a party, the Bastards of Bexia group. They were stuck in Ravenloft, and they were fighting Dark Druids. And the Dark Druids aren't what almost killed them, but but it was the bears. They had bears working for them, and they... Like, that's what almost killed all of them, was just me chasing them down with bears. I was shocked that it was almost the bears of everything. Like, was gonna kill them all. Oh, okay, it's an homage to Discworld's Commander Carrot, Iron Foundation. Okay. I have not read... Discworld is the big thing that's on my list that I have not read. I have not read Discworld. It is the thing that everyone tells me I need to read. I agree. I need to read it. I loved Good Omens, which was Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love Terry Pratchett. It's just one of those things. Advice: don't start with The Color of Magic. Yeah, okay. Good to know. I'll probably put like a thing out for all my friends who are really familiar with Pratchett to kind of let them guide me on the journey through Discworld. Because I'm getting there. I'm burning through a lot of fantasy stories right now and series, like older stuff. So I'm reading a lot of like Fritz Lieber, old Jack Vance, Lord Dunsany, like older stuff, and then I'm gonna approach some more modern fantasy literature. Let's see. Ghostly Man was like, I'm gonna kill you, sis, but you're gonna take out your friends for me? Okay, you don't start that way. You just go, hey, we can work, like, don't be like, I'm gonna kill you, but you're gonna do this. Like, come on. Like, at least, you give or take. You gotta, like, try and... Part of the fun is the temptation. To just be like, to make them, try to like actually make you question your character's moral values. Be like, it behooves you to kill them. Um, oh, no, not kill me. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay, I ain't gonna kill you, sis. Got it. Misread that. Thank you, Ghostly. But you're gonna take out your friends for me. Man forced me to speak their names. Then they would burst in flames. Very cool. Very, very cool. I like that. Two of the four were knocked out. Was not a good situation. Yeah, that does sound like an intense situation. I like it though. I dig it. I dig some of the villainous. Hey, speak of the devil. Come here. Come here. Hey, there we go. It's a princess. Yeah, look at you. I saw you busting into the room. Look at you. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go talk to all the people on the internet. The trash bears. The trash bears are like, take a raccoon, make it like a big bear, highly mutagenically flexible, like an EV. Okay, gotcha. Give it appendages according to the level of the encounter. Okay, got it. First one's a beaver. First one had beaver tails and venomous beaver fangs. Other had bat wing. Oh man, I love bat wings on a bat wings on a raccoon bear. And venomous bear fangs. One of bat wings, lightning powers, and sharp claws. Nice. I love that. That sounds like a blast. I'm actually shocked. I'm sure there's probably people. Oh, hello, princess. You're okay. Um, I actually wonder if someone's done like modified, like Discworld creatures and like written them or like had fan creatures created for D&D based on Discworld creatures. Someone should do that. I'm sure someone on the internet has done that. I would not be surprised. Oh, hello. All right. Well, let us go ahead and get started on our next sprint. I'm going to continue reading nerdy tabletop RPG game system rulebook. But for everyone out there who is writing and working, I hope the words treat you well. And yeah, we'll get to going. This was for Mythmancer campaign. Okay. That's set in an ancient Greek analog. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. My DM said I could have a groundhog familiar. That keeps me going. Groundhog familiar is good. My warlock in a game that I play occasionally has, we call him Rocktopus, because he's like an eldritch Lovecraftian styled warlock. So he's got a lot of tentacle monster, that's what, it's Lovecraft tentacle monsters, Cthulhu monsters, all that nonsense. But I love that my familiar's a Rocktopus. It's a land octopus. I'm pretty proud of that. He's pretty cool. His name's Waitley. His name is Waitley, and he just hangs out. He's good times. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get to writing. Have a good sprint, and we'll see you all on the other side. Very cool guy, Ghostly. Very cool guy. And away we go. I know, princess. right, everybody. That is the end of that sprint. Let me go ahead and bring the music down. Boop. All right. Start the break timer. Look at that. Wind up perfectly with ads. Ghostly, I've achieved nothing. That's why I'm not writing anything today. I am procrastination 1, as it does. I'm too burnt out and I'm tired to get any writing done, which is why I'm reading tabletop RPG books on stream, because I'm not getting any work done today. I can tell you right now it's happening. I am utterly exhausted from the pork, and there's more pork to be had. So this is my break time. But for you, Ghostly, next sprint. You'll get it next sprint. Oh, let me just run the ads now. Just get those out of the way. There we go. Boop boop boo. Oh, princess. Upset. Oh. Perhaps I should recommend the New York Times best-selling field guide. Oh shit, that's right. I forgot about that, Ghostly. You did put that in the Discord, didn't you? I can read that. I'll give that a read. No, I've been clearing out my phone. I know. I feel like I get distracted in the sprint because I'm like hyper. I don't like notifications on my phone. It makes me crazy. So like when there's like the little dot with the number, I don't know. I'm one of those people, I guess. So there are points where even just like doing like a cursory glance at my phone, I'll see like 15 emails, and I'm just like, that can't stand. That has to go away right now. So I've done that. I definitely do the I need to just start purging everything from my phone. I definitely kind of wish I could have a home phone and not have a cell phone anymore unless I needed it for very specific things, like if I'm out and about or something. Because because I feel like I was genuinely a much more well-adjusted normal person when I didn't have a phone like that. I felt overall happier with my life. So it doesn't stress me out the way having a smartphone seems to stress me out. Ghostly's Guide to all the words, specifically the section "The Burn." Did not meant to send that in 2 chats, but oh well. That's great. Yeah, I'll bring that up, Ghostly. Yeah, I'll read that on the next sprint. Why not? Give them no. Would you like to hear a bad joke? I always want to hear bad jokes. If they are hilarious jokes. If they're bad, mildly inappropriate jokes are also welcome, depending on the level of inappropriateness. But I do enjoy them. Or dad jokes. Depends what you mean by bad. I do run a D&D game with like 5 fathers, so I get nothing but bad dad, like really bad dad pun jokes all the time. What happens if you cross a dog with a bloodsucker? You get bed pugs. That's amazing. That is the congrats. Give them Nell. That is a zinger of a dad joke right there. That is an absolute zinger of a dad joke. You don't have to. That was a shameless plug, since I know you're talking about Burnout. You read your RPG if it you read your RPG if it brings you joy. It does bring me joy, but I do find the charm that you carry in your writing pretty delightful as well. So I might give it a look-see. Stop. Of course, Ghostly. Embrace the weird and the charm. Embrace the weird and the charm. That's the key. Warms my little black heart. Yep, yep. As a person who has a cold goth black heart, I understand the sentiment. How long do you think the stream will be today? It will be 4 sprints, so we've got two more sprints. Um, so about the usual length, probably like total 2.5 hours, 2 hours 45, I think. Um, yeah, it would be longer. I was kind of hoping for more of like a productivity stream, but I'm feeling pretty tired today. I also might have to go. I also like last week. It could have been the stress, but like I felt like I was getting sick again, so there was definitely not feeling good. So I have a feeling I might actually have to go to the doctor. I have some friends who are pushing me to go to the doctor to maybe get some antibiotics or something. So that might also be why I'm feeling extra burnt out and tired. But I also have been working forever on the pork videos, so yeah, we don't know. I'm debating the redeem, but I don't want to interfere with the stream stuff. I mean, that's what the redeem is there for, Ghostly. So if you can, it's there to interfere with the stream stuff. So you can always do the redeem, but like, yeah, unless you want me to read it out loud, and all that. I'm kind of using the like, if I have nothing else to read and I'm kind of reading and chilling, I don't mind bringing someone's stuff up. But if you want me to like live comment on it, kind of what we did with Maya, that's kind of what I think the redeem is, essentially, is kind of me reading it aloud and commenting on it with whatever helpful or unhelpful comments that I can give it. Because I've read your stuff on stream before, just to get, just because that's part of doing the sprints. But I also don't want to add too many thoughts when your brain is jelly. That's totally fine. It is fine. You could add away if you'd like. I don't know if it would be beneficial to be beneficial to the burnout or unhelpful. Well, yeah, don't overthink it, Ghostly. It's fine. If I'm like, I would not be streaming if I was like completely zonked. So anytime I stream, I have to make sure that I'm at least like, I can at least uphold my end of the streaming bargain. So don't worry about that too much. Because it's reading stuff is not hard. I mean, I definitely want to give good advice, but it's not like the hardest thing in the world to do. I am uncertain about my first chapter on the fantasy road trip. Okay, for the fantasy road trip to an outside perspective. I started it. I haven't finished it, but I did start it. It started strong. I didn't get far though. Yeah, there was a period where I think I was standing in line. I was doing something and I just brought it up on my phone and started reading it. But I'm pretty sure I have it. Yeah, it's somewhere on there. I haven't started it yet. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I started it because I need to get to Mr. DeCat's thing too. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's a writer goal. Make stuff that people just read randomly. That is kind of the goal as a writer, to be able to hook an audience or compel them to continue reading your story unprompted. Even though I mean nowadays, like, so much of it is technically, it's like advertising, social media. I don't even know how half the stuff works on like writer, like Goodreads and writer Twitter and all that. Like there's a whole game to being able to like position yourself to either self-publish now or try to do like traditional publishing or get noticed enough to get you through the door in traditional publishing. Which is funny, the writer, there's a screenwriter I worked with when I first moved to LA. that was in college. She was at USC, and that was like her thing. I remember she worked on this script with a co-writer, went back home, and I think she had pitched a book, like a young adult novel, to agents or something like that, and then went and wrote it when she moved back home after she had graduated from USC, and then went back, and then she published it. And now she's a YA author. What did she? I think the book that I remember that she pitched was called The Red Queen. I think, yeah. But I mean, she was cool and stuff. She's a very, very cool person. But I think that's how I think she had pitched it to like. I think she had pitched it to a bunch of. I can't remember if she pitched it to agents, because she went in for screenwriting. She went in for screenwriting. So I assume she was pitching things as films, but. Wait, that's so freaking cool. Wait, what's so freaking cool? Oh, just how she was able to get like published? I mean, I don't know how much of that was like USC is like the prestige school, so you get access to that. That is a huge series. Oh yeah, she's pretty popular. I know that Victoria. She's a cool person. I loved working with her. The Red Queen dominates. Oh good. Well, shit. I'm glad you. Yeah. Victoria's cool. Yeah, I haven't like talked to her or worked with it, but God, this was back in 2012, 2013. I think it was 2013 because that's when I was working for the producer. And her and her co-writer had gotten hired to do a rewrite on the draft, and that's how I met them. But she's a cool person, super nice. But yeah, that's how she. I remember we would. For a while after we'd finished that job, we would all go out and get lunch and just kind of meet up. We had like we called it the people who survived working for that producer. But I think when I talked to her about, that's how she had described that pitch process, or how that pitch process had gone. I don't know how in touch you are with the Y fantasy, but the Red Queen is a big deal. Oh, okay, yeah. I am not. I know she's like a big writer. I know she's published multiple series. So and she was a great writer. I read her spec script one, because as a reader, my job was to essentially, and I pitched her and her co-writer to that producer because I had liked the scripts that they had written, and she wrote a spec script called, or like a zombie western called Rawhide, and she was a really good writer. Like you could tell. As a screenwriter, she was very, very talented. I haven't read any of her fiction, but she's a really good writer, very good screenwriter. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad for her. When you hear about people like that who genuinely work hard and struggle for it, like I'm glad she did well. I'm really glad she did. So I'm glad it's a big deal. Oh, and I just overshot our thingy-bobbly. Ba-ba-ba. All right. I'm going to go ahead. I personally haven't read anything of hers, but I'm 2% in the know, and she's doing just fine, yeah. I see her Instagram updates from time, so I know she travels and does book tours, and I see her talking about things, but yeah, she's cool. She's a cool person. Super chill. All right. I'm going to go ahead and... get a rollin'. Read work on stream. Oh shit. Ghostly, what are you doing? Craziness. Okay. Do you want me to do the screw it, I'm rich? I mean, yeah, you've been here a while. I expect you're rich. Do you want me to do the do you want me to do the fantasy road trip first chapter? Is that what you want me to read? We'll just do it. We'll just go and do it for this. Oh, okay, yep. All right, we'll just go and do it for this sprint then. Oh, princess. I know, you are mad. just batting at my chest. You're tearing up my cat sweater. All right, hold on. I know. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I will pet you in a second. All right. Do. There you go. Settle. That's right. ASMR with Princess would be a lovely idea for a one-shot video. I could do that. That is a funny idea. Give them now. That's not a bad idea. All right. Okay. All right. Let me Google properties. The Queen. She is. She runs. I mean, the cats run the house. We all know that that's how this works. Boop. There we go. All right. Oh, no. Cancel. Boom. All right. All right. Let's get to it then. So we'll go ahead and... for everybody out there writing, Ghostly redeemed a read on stream. So I'm going to go ahead and read it on stream. So if you're working for this sprint and you don't want to hear my voice... my voice a babbling, just mute it or, you know, anything like that. But we'll go ahead and start the sprint. And for those of you who are writing, happy writing, and I hope the words flow freely. Gee, it's strange saying it here. I am shooketh. Apologize to those working. It's fine. That's part of what it's there for. All right, we're starting the sprint. Let's roll. All right. All right, Insults and Unpleasantries. The Fantasy Road Trip by Ghostly H.E. Osiris. Chapter 1. An Unwanted Visitor. Though the sky was a clear, vibrant blue, and the sun cast upon the hilly countryside with warmth, comfort was the last thing to be felt in the town of Westshire. There was a harsh quiet that cut through the main street, only disturbed by the melodic clang of metal on metal as the blacksmith hammered against his anvil. There was a group of men loading barrels onto the cart from the tavern, the mumbling complaints amongst themselves. Though they had kept a sharp eye on the street, and there was a group of men loading barrels onto a cart from a tavern and mumbling complaints among themselves, though they kept a sharp eye on the street and who passed. All right. That reads awkward to me. Why does that read awkward to me? Is it just me? There was a group of men loading barrels onto a cart from the tavern and mumbling complaints amongst themselves, though they kept a sharp eye on the street and who passed. I don't know. That seems like that is correct grammatically, but it reads awkward to me. I don't know why. That's reading funky to me. There was a group of men loading barrels onto a cart from the tavern. I would maybe split the sentences up. There was a group of men loading barrels onto a cart from the tavern, period. Or get rid of the and. Actually, you know what? Get rid of the and. There was a group of men loading barrels onto a cart from the tavern, mumbling complaints amongst themselves, maybe instead of though. Mumbling complaints amongst themselves while they kept a sharp eye on the street and those who passed. Or those who passed. Something like that, maybe. You could also split it into two sentences. I've labored over that sentence, yeah. I mean, we all have them. Maybe either split it into two sentences or clean it up a little bit so you don't need to get... Because sometimes you don't need all the ands. You can kind of get there. That might be my screenwriter talking a little bit, but... just kind of like just get to the sentence, get to the idea. Yeah, shortening it is always going to be good. A few women moved with a bustling haste in and out of shops, while others pursued the stands that lined the street, keeping their heads on a swivel both ways. You do. I have noticed you have a cadence. You do have a cadence like that's There was a group of men loading barrels onto a cart tavern, comma, and this thing happened, comma, though this happened. A few women moved through the haste in the shops, comma, while they pursued the stands, comma, keeping their heads. So you do have, you're doing, it's like the same exact sentence structure. It's just funny. So you might want to vary that up just a bit, because it does the same thing over. That's not bad. It's not necessarily the worst thing, but it's like two very long, multi-ideaed statements back to back. No, Ghostly, you're not a one-trick pony. It's fine. That's just an observation. A few women moved with a bustle haste in and out of shops, while others peruse the stands that line the street, keeping their heads on a swivel both ways. I do like you. You are describing. I'm assuming that's going to come in. Like everyone's clearly very aware of what's going on around them. So I'm assuming you're saying that because you're setting something up. Because you've now twice been very clear about everybody is kind of always looking around a lot. Or being aware. Either on edge or... Yes, on edge. Yep. Okay, gotcha. Yep, good. Good. Okay. That's good. Yeah, Pixel Bob. A chorus of high-pitched screams cut through the quiet as a group of 3 little girls came running out of the tailor's. A freckled-faced little boy behind them holding out a toad. Cute. It's a fun scene. You did the same thing again, Ghostly. It's just funny. You did the same thing again. Of course, high-pitched screams cut through the quiet, comma, as a group of 3 little girls came running out of the tailor's, comma, a freckle-faced little boy holding the toad. It's just funny. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Just you might want to break every point. I realize that's all I do. I don't feel like you did. I'd have to go back and reread reread your other story, because I don't feel like you did that. I mean, you do it a lot, but I don't feel like you did it this much. Maybe you did. I just didn't, and I'm only now noticing it. But don't be self-conscious about it, but it is interesting that you clearly think it's clearly tapping into your brain a little bit how you think about describing a layout or a scene. Now the only challenge is going to be varying how you describe that scene, or using the actual language itself to try to convey that scene. Because it's a funny image. The image itself is funny. Like you're doing a good job laying out the scene. I see it. It's almost beginning very much like the opening scene in like a thriller, like a spy thriller or something like that. Everybody's looking at everybody. Like you're laying the sort of tension and the geography out really well, and you're also adding the little bit of like the random little bit of daily life that tends to interrupt the unaware element of it as the tension is building everywhere. So you're doing a good job with that. This is much more of a technical critique there. Hello, princess. The whole street of people jumped and cracked their necks at the spectacle. The little girls dashed out into the street, taking refuge behind a wide-eyed woman in a gray dress, clutching a basket of produce to her chest. The little boy frowned, a somewhat saddened look on his face. "But I promise he's nice." He yelled, "I promise he's nice," he yelled to the cowering little girls who clung to the shaken woman. Oh, that's funny. Okay, I see. The whole street of people jumped. Okay, so the whole street of people jumped is just that's just there's an easier and quicker way to say that. You might not even need of people, or just to rephrase it, just to make it cleaner. The little girls dashed out into the street, taking refuge behind a wide-eyed woman in a gray dress, clutching a basket of produce to her chest. That's fine. The little boy frowned, a somewhat saddened look on his face. Okay, that's fine. But I promise he's nice. He yelled to the cowering. But I promise he's nice. He yelled to the cowering little girls who clung to the shaken woman. Okay, that works. You might want to dip this down into like a dialogue line. So just this, but I promise, like just to break it away from the paragraph. That's another technical thing. That's just. And honestly, probably talking to Cryptid is probably going to be better for a lot of that stuff, because Cryptid's an actual editor. But Dimitri, a forcedly gruff voice scolded from behind him. The red of anger and embarrassment was painted over the young man's face as stomped out of the tailor's barefoot. I'm assuming as I think we're missing a word here. Red of anger and embarrassment was painted over the young man's face as stomped out of the tailor's barefoot. Yeah, I think we're missing a word there. I do that. We all do it. I do it all the time. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. The red of anger and embarrassment was painted over the young man's face as he stomped out of the tailor's barefoot. He grabbed the boy by the arm and yanked him to his toes. The boy dropped the frog onto the street. And the group of hysteric girls squealed as it hopped past them and disappeared through a hole in the porch across the street. That's funny. It's something about calling the girls hysteric there. I mean, just it's funny. It's a perfect image. I can see the image in my head, so that works well. What have I told you about bringing animals into? The young man cut himself off as his eyes strayed to the street. Strayed to the street in the end. Okay, so yeah, I'd get rid of the and here. That's where I'd just use a comma. The young man cut himself off as his eyes strayed to the street, the many eyes staring at the two of them. That just reads easier to me than you just get rid of the and. I feel bad. I hope that this is useful because coming from screenwriting, I'm just so inclined to want to start throwing words out, which I have no idea if that's how that works in like prose. Although I do tend to like cleaner prose. Or at least, I guess, quote-unquote, efficient prose. It can be flowery, it just needs to be efficient. The red of his face brightened, and his frown deepened. The red on his face brightened, and his frown deepened. He looked like he couldn't be much older than 15, but the cold reservation on his face painted him much older in a rather... The cold reservation on his face painted him much older in a rather saddening manner. Okay. Careful how much you use saddening. You've already used it once before. It's you might want to use a different term, like melancholic or something like that. I'm a very wordy person. I take it as a good reminder. Oh no, it's fine. I mean, you can be wordy. You need to be efficient. If you're conveying, the more words you use, the more, in my opinion, this is my theory. My quote-unquote, if you're using more words, the more you should be conveying. Not necessarily through plot or anything, but through character, mood, tone, theme, something, just the feeling of being there, texture of being there. It just means if you use more words, like, it needs to be doing something. That's just me, though. That's generally how I think about when I'm reading things. Painted much older. Yeah, you could also. Yeah, you also don't need the saddening if you don't think it adds any, or it's not adding it or doing the work you want it to do. The red face bright and his front deep, and he looked like he couldn't be much older. 15. But the cold reservation on his face painted him much older. Yeah, so just cut in the red. Come on, we're going home. Still holding the arm of the boy, he pulled him along. He pulled him along with him into the road. Yeah, him along with him is just careful about doing that too. Still holding the arm of the boy, he pulled him along into the road. I would just probably along with him. It's just a lot of him and him, or just change. Still holding the arm of the boy, he pulled him along with him. Yeah, I don't know. That irks me. I also have that change. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, yep. Just usual. Yeah. I mean, this is all minute stuff. This is all editorial, tiny things that you do as you're editing and refining. The heartbroken droop in his mouth deepened as he saw the anger in his brother's face. I'm sorry, Hayward. I just wanted to bring Mr. Hopper shoe shopping too. I'm sorry, Miss. Let's see. Heartbroken droop in his mouth deepened as he saw the anger in his brother's face. I'm sorry, Hayward. I just wanted to bring Mr. Hopper shoe hopping. Or shoe. I wanted to bring Mr. Hopper Mr. Hopper shoe shopping too. A lot of P's. There we go. Bring Mr. Hopper shoe shopping too. He trailed off as his eyes glazed over. Hello, princess. The older boy stopped in the street, closed his eyes, and let out a long sigh. It's fine, Demi. Just apologize to the girls. Hayward watched the dirt road as he felt the cold, judging eyes of the townspeople around him. Dimitri wiped his eyes. Unintentional tongue twister. It happens sometimes. If I was a hip hop or rap artist, I could slay that, but I am, alas, I am not. Dimitri wiped his eyes with the back of his hand as he looked at the little girls who frowned from behind the innocent bystander. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I thought you'd like him too. He trailed off as his little lip quivered and a tear fell down his face. Yes, that's a very simple but also a little cute, delightful description. That's kind of that kind of says everything you need to say about the scene and him. I also already changed the spelling of his name to be consistent to Dimitri. Gotcha. Okay. That's good. That's not going to bug me too much because I read too much Dostoevsky where he's got like 5 names for the same people because that's how Russian works. It's fine. But I do, definitely for things like this, it's going to confuse people. Hayward felt his annoyance slip from him as he sighed and reached down to the young boy. He picked him up and turned down the road. But your shoes, the little boy protested. He wiped his tears and struggled to be free of his brother's grasp. They can't fix him, Demi. It's fine. Mother says she has an old pair of fathers somewhere. Let's go check on Mom and Ruby. Mom and Ruby. Hayward spoke in a hush as he moved quickly down the street. His eyes, the eyes of his fellow townsfolk, burning holes in the back of his shirt. As he moved quickly, I don't know. There's sometimes I'm worried there's just too much description here. Hayward spoke in a hush. I'd be like, Hayward spoke in a hush, the eyes of the townsfolk burning holes behind his shirt. Because you already say they're turned down the road here. So saying that he moved quickly down the street is redundant. You'd probably get rid of that and just leave because you've already established that they're already turning down the road. Short-term memory is bliss, I assume. Dimitri nodded. Okay, will Buttercup be home? He asked into his shoulder. Hayward hesitated. She said she had some errands to run today, and you know she works late. Dimitri sniffed. He looked over his brother's shoulder as they left, his bleary eyes looking for a sign with the piggy on it, but instead he caught the gruesome glares of those around him. And in that moment, his sadness turned to shame. Is everyone mad at me? He murmured through a shaky voice. Yeah, this is good. This whole bit here. This is where you can be descriptive, and it doesn't feel like it's too much or being redundant. It's a good little This is a good little description. Looking for the sign with the piggy on it, but instead caught the gruesome glares of those around him. Yeah, that's good. It's a good little moment. Moment of sadness turned to shame. Is everyone mad at me? He murmured through a shame. Hayward tightened his jaw, his hold on his brother tight. No, they're just nervous. About what? Nice. Okay, that's good. That gives us a nice... That's asking the same thing that the audience is asking because of the way that you open the chapter. So good callback. See, like, structurally and narratively, you know what you're doing, Ghostly. It works. It's just details. It's all just refining the details. Your instincts are good. And the way that you're structuring things are working. Hayward sighed, forcing his eyes on the road. Forcing his eyes on the road ahead of them as the main street grew distant behind them. An unwanted visitor. Nice. Okay, so we have an answer that tells us nothing. Good. Good. Because it keeps us asking questions. Okay, so now we know what we're scared of, a visitor. But we don't know what kind of visitor. We just know it's unwanted. Cool. Thank you. That means the world. Oh, no worries, Ghostly. But sometimes you need that. You need you need to know that you're not crazy. As I feel like a lot of artists and people who kind of struggle, they need to know that they're not crazy. That what they're doing is working, or that they have. There's the whole argument about taste. Okay. All right. As the two boys shrunk down the road, the town went back as they were, grumbling in the meantime. As the two boys shrunk down the road, the town went back as they were, grumbling in the meantime. Yeah, I'd probably just say two boys, the town went back to grumbling, shifty eyes, something like that. I don't know. That's just a little. The town went back as they were is just awkward. Feral autumn bows. Ooh, what does that mean? Feral autumn bows. One of the men at the cart mumbled as he hauled the last barrel and slammed the gate shut. I would probably say one of the men by the cart mumbled as he hauled the last barrel instead of at the cart. Barrel and slammed the gate shut. Get her back to Newton. I know they want their precious little barrels back, he shouted up to the driver. That was all he needed. With a bray of the horses, the cart rumbled down the road. Come on, lads, the man said to the two assisting him. Bobicus! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, Autumn Bow. Or Autumn Bow? Okay, Autumn Bow. Thank you. Hello, Bobicus. How goes it? It's been a while. We're currently reading Ghostly Zosh's first chapter right now. But yeah, how goes it? How's everything? All right, let's see here. Autumn Bow. Come on, lads, the man said to us. Let's help with the patrol. The huntsmen are down by a good 4. They all mumbled an agreement and disappeared down the side alley. Okay. Nice. You got kind of a feral autumn bow. I'm imagining that it's like it's because I still don't know what kind of stuff you're setting up, but it almost kind of seems like the town's treating them almost like Romani. You know, unwanted, like, you know, caravan folk. Oh, I wonder. The shaken woman in gray blinked. The shaken woman in gray blinked the shock out of her eyes and turned to the little girls who still huddled behind her. Okay, girls. Okay, girls. She turned around to face them. Back into the tailors now until your mums are done. This is no time to be out. Her eyes pivoted down the road, a weary concern behind her eyes. Gotcha. Okay, you've used blink the shock out of before. It's fine. I'm sure other people. I don't know why I don't like blink the shock out of her eyes, but that's me. Don't let that throw you. I don't know why I don't like that. I can't even say why I don't like that. That second description repeated. Oh, yes, it did. Yep. Yeah, that's going to be the big thing is, that is going to be the big thing you're going to want to watch out for is making sure that you're not repeating yourself. Because that is going to turn people off where it just feels like you're not, it's redundant almost. And kind of the reader is going to be like, okay, I get it. My brain never notices when I mean my own stuff. Or when you read your own stuff. It's why having an editor or someone to read alongside to let you kind of point these things out. Because we all do it. This is not just something that is only for you, Ghostly. We all tend to be redundant or repeat. Because while we're writing it, we might not be aware that we already said a thing. It's just how it is. The little girls talked amongst themselves as they ran back across the street and into the tailor's, the door slamming shut behind them. The woman in gray shivered and began to turn, but before she could, a hand came down on her shoulder. She nearly jumped 3 feet in the air as she squealed. The few collective eyes that remained on the street turned to stare at her now. It's slog. Slog is miserable. Yeah, you don't want things to slog. That is what you want to watch out for. She clamped her hand over her mouth as she turned to find just a shaken face. The woman in blue pulled her out pulled her out of the middle of the street, and the town went back to its business slightly more passively this time. Okay, let me. Okay, Fanny, the woman in gray, cried. Yeah, this is confusing. The woman in gray shivered and began to turn, but before she could, a hand came down her shoulder. Okay. She nearly jumped 3 feet in the air as she squealed. Yeah. The few collective eyes that remained on the street turned to stare at her now. Yeah. I think you might have established that everybody is staring and kind of on edge. So the constant referral back to the few collective eyes, unless you could make that shorter and smoother, I might start cutting that down a little bit. Oh, you since edited it, okay. She clamped her hand over her mouth as she turned to find a just as shaken face. Okay, so revealing a new character. The woman in blue pulled her out of the middle of the street, and the town went back to its business, slightly more passive this time. Yeah, that's good. I kind of get what you're going for here, Ghostly. It just needs to come off clearer, and I know you're trying to like establish like who's this new person, and we're establishing a new character. I think that just needs to be cleaner and more deliberate. Fanny, the woman in gray, cried. Yeah, more concise. That's a good way to put it. Fanny, the woman in gray, cried. You scared the daylights out of me. I'm sorry, Martha. I didn't mean to. Fanny quickly apologized and guided her to the covered wagon utilized as a fruit stand. The vendor inside didn't even look up as they approached. He was far more enthralled in the book he had his nose in than the outside world. Are you all right? The girls nearly ran you over. Okay, so I do like that you have a vendor here, but you have established that everybody is on edge and like constantly glancing around, and then we have this one character who doesn't seem to care. So, which is fine. You just might want to call that out a little bit more. Or at least how they feel about it, or something like that. It's just odd that you're like highly specified that everyone's staring and on edge, and then we go have a conversation near a guy who just doesn't care. Look, sometimes there's just a slow guy who owns a fruit stand. Okay, so if you're going for, if it's an archetype type, that's good too. It's the cabbages from Avatar: The Last Airbender. You gotta have them. Gotta have those characters. I'm fine. Martha nodded, still collecting her wits. It was just the youngest Autumn Boa boy. She trailed off as she couldn't find the right words to finish her sentence. It was the youngest Autumn boy. Okay. Fanny rolled her eyes and stuff. It's always one of the Autumn bows. Honestly, those children are free range at this point. Martha frowned. It's not their fault they're practically raising themselves. That oldest daughter of theirs is holding it together as best as she can. Oh man, we are doing like a Romani thing. Or at least the way people talk about Romani. I mean, it makes sense. This is a road story, so I'm not surprised. Fanny swatted the thought away with her hand. They are not well fit with so little. They are not well fit with so little supervision. There's the British coming out. They are not well fit with so little supervision. It's very British of them. But enough about them. Her eyes lit up with strange conglomeration of fear and excitement. Did you hear the news? She asked in a hush. Of course I heard the news, Martha said quickly, ditching the previous subject like it had never been brought up. But I haven't heard the... that's cool. That's a good line. I like that line, Ghostly. Of course I've heard the news, but I haven't heard the story yet. That's a good line. It's a good line. You haven't? The woman placed her hand on her shoulder. Everyone is talking about it. I know that, but no one's telling it. Great. There. That's a good setup. Good. Fanny looked up and down the road one final time, putting an arm around Martha as they loomed over the apples. Well, Before sunrise, the Broadsmith's middle daughter, Fauna, went to pick up wildflowers in the far north fields. She said that while on a hill overlooking the road to Phillimore, she spotted the most imposing figure making its way south. From a distance, she thought it was just a large man, but as she made it further down the road, she realized he was more than just large. He was monstrous. She knew it could only be the demon Damascus. Luckily for her, she had youth on her side, allowing her to hightail it back home before he ever got very close. It's good. It's you definitely channel the storytelling. They're very everybody's a talented storyteller. Give them now. It's late here. All right, Nell. Have a lovely night. Have a great night. Yes, and Princess appreciates it. She is hanging out by the window. But have an absolute lovely night. I hope the evening treats you well, and we'll see you next time. All right. Where were we? But I do love this. She knew it could only be the demon Damascus. Is this the thing that everybody is scared? The visitor that might approach? Perhaps. Luckily for her, she had youth on her side. Allowing her to hightail it back home before he got very close. Oh, is Princess coming back over? I felt her. Oh, nope, you're running off. Okay. Oh, it's because my robe fell. All right. Oh, and that is the end of that sprint. So we will come back from our time. We'll start the down timer. And after the Demon Damascus, we'll go ahead and take a break. All right. Hopefully everybody's sprint went well. The words treated you all kindly. If you're just coming back. Thoroughly enjoying Ghostly's story. Right. I do like Demon Damascus. That's a good name. All right. Let's go. Yep, and we'll go ahead and we'll do one more sprint after this, but we'll see if we can finish this chapter. Let's see here. Okay. Look if she had youth on her side. It definitely, you do a good job. You definitely do a very good job doing the it's kind of like an old wives' tale kind of thing, but she had youth on her side kind of thing, you know. It sounds very much like a you know, a wayward story that you'd have an older person tell you. So you capture that vibe very well. All right. We're going to run some ads real quick, everybody. So there will be ads. There will be ads. So buckle up for them ads. All right. Go get a drink, mute, purge the capitalist nonsense. All right, let's keep on going. The gossip of the medieval days. Hey, there was a lot. There's also some very, very raunchy songs from the medieval days too. When I was writing a fantasy film during COVID. It was kind of my big, broad fantasy epic about nihilism and entropy and the end of the universe. And I was looking up a bunch of old medieval songs, and there are some wild bard story. Like some of the songs they would, like, theater and traveling minstrels would sing. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. All right. Martha's hand crept up to cover her mouth. That poor devil must have scared her half to death. It certainly did. White as a sheet that girl was, they say. I even know as a grown woman with a strong husband and grown boys, I would be scared of. That's such an old. That's so amazing. I would be scared out of my stockings if I saw the beast down the road. That is a funny line, Ghostly. That is the. Oh my god, that is a funny line. I know even as a grown woman with a strong husband and grown boys, I would be scared out of my stockings if I saw that beast down the road. That's a funny line. That is good. Fanny shuddered at the thought and shook her head. He was on the road to Fillmore. Or the road from Phillimore. He should have been here by now if this was his destination, Martha thought aloud, a little frantically. That's why. Whole town is jumpy as jackrabbits. Everybody is trying to keep things normal, saying he must have skipped town and went right to his home in the East Woods. She looked over Martha's shoulder to the lowly, quiet street behind them. Martha gripped her arm, turning Fanny's attention back to her serious gaze. But that road leads straight through Westshire. There are no side roads, no trails. Everybody knows that. Everyone knows that. Fanny pulled back away from her, turning to face the street. Yeah, I mean, these are little things that you can just clean up, Ghostly. Like, Fanny pulled back away from her, pulled back away from her towards the street, instead of pulled back away from her, turning to face the street. You can just be like turning towards the street. That's it. Just little things like that. A group of about 3 men passed through the middle of the street, and also be cautious of doing that too, where you like turning to face the street. A group of 3 men passed through the middle of the main street. Now you're repeating street. It's just things like that they kind of start to sound awkward. A lot of street happening. You got to find other words for street. They were dressed in fine leather, swords swaying at their sides as they scanned the area. Fanny sighed as she watched them, but it would hardly do any good wasting a whole day locked indoors when the demon is nowhere to be seen. Strode. Strode. I like that. Strode is good, Babacus. We're just, you could go full, like, Lewis Carroll with it, like the Jabberwock or Dr. Seuss, and just start making up words. I feel like if you saw Strode, you'd be like, or you'd think they were like, the past tense of stride, strode somewhere, but I feel like you could, it still involves a road. Oh, strode is okay. So you meant strode as in like, I'm assuming you mean like the past tense for stride, or is it different? Oh, is it? Oh, they actually did make a word. Yeah, I knew it's a portmanteau of street and road. I didn't realize that was an actual word. Since portmanteaus sometimes aren't actual words, it's just people being clever. Ghostly, you have so much brain, thank you. Yes, indeed. That's good to know. I had no idea. But I do like when you make new words by portmanteauing words. It's a good time. It's definitely very like Lewis Carroll. The Lewis Carroll way. Let's see here. She tried to steel herself as she tightened her shawl around her shoulders. About four men from the hunting cabin went scouting for him. After the Broadsmith girl told of the news. They could find no trace of him on the road to Phillimore. They are assuming he has already disappeared into the trees to that grave he calls a home. Thank you. It sounded sarcasm, but it made it wholly serious. Yes, I assume so, Ghostly. It would be wild that suddenly just sarcastic Ghostly entered the room. They're assuming he has already disappeared into the trees to that grave he calls a home. Okay, that works. Martha swallowed and nodded her head, her eyes following Fanny's to the men. The one at the head was a young woman who met her eye. He gave her a smile and a slight wave before he forced his eyes back on the road. A small smile curved up Martha's face as well, though she quickly hid it as she turned back to the produce. Young man. Oh, I see. I gotcha. Okay. To the men. The one at the head was a young woman who met her eye. He gave her a smile and slight wave before he forced his eyes back on the road. A smile curved up Martha's face as well, though she quickly hid it as she turned back to the produce. It is a relief. The men of the cabin are doing their rounds. The men of the cabin. Young man, did not mean to write woman. Oh, I see, got you. Sometimes I just don't. Hey, Mr. DeCat, welcome in. Welcome. We're currently spending the end of the sprint doing a read-through of Ghostly's first chapter for her book, her fantasy road trick. Had a chance to see my fanfic yet, just why? No, not yet. I'll probably get to it hopefully this week. Unfortunately, the the pork videos are eating up all my spare time. So I'm a little behind on getting caught up with everybody's stuff. Let's see here. But we'll get there. Don't worry, Mr. DeCat. All right. Let's see. Let's see. The Men of the Cabin. It's good. It's good. Good name. Good name. Double shifts. Fanny nodded. If that demon's intention be trouble, then he will certainly find it. She shook her head with distaste as a frown spread across her face. Interesting. It's one of those almost rhymes. She leaned back on the counter of the wagon. The clerk behind it is still in his own world. Okay. Pointing that out a second time. She leaned back. Okay. Honestly, I feel as though the South has become the slums of Loomis. I ask every weekend to double check, but I don't mean because it forced me to do the edit. I don't mind it forced me to do the editing. I hate gotcha, Mr. DeCat. I feel you there. For sure. Let's see. Honestly, I feel as though the South has become the slums of Loomis. Even in our secluded little corner, we are bombarded with freaks of nature and unsavory mystics. Did you hear that that witch moved back into the eerie woods? After nearly 20 years, her dinky little cabin is back on our soil out of thin air. She spat on the ground. I'm going to talk to Gord about going north. This is no land to raise your women. Okay. Boop. Witches, I hate them so. Bogus, I hate them so, them witches. Man, you've got, all right. I do like that you're trying to catch us up on this little world, Ghostly, by having essentially two women gossip. Nah, I love a good witch. I'm a big fan of witches. I put them in a lot of things, and they're usually the good guys in many cases. But I do like that. I do like that you're trying to give us the landscape of everything that's going on here through a gossip session in the market. Makes sense. It's a good way to do it. Oh yeah, the only way to exposit is my opinion. Yep. Yeah, you've got a lot. You've got a lot going on here, so it might be too much. We'll see. All right, so we're gonna start the last sprint of the night. For everybody, we're gonna continue reading this. So if you are writing and don't want to hear my babbling voice the whole time, feel free to mute and do that. But for those of you who are writing, I hope the sprint goes well and the words treat you well. I have a witch in my first book, but she's not a very good necromancer. Gotcha. Okay. Very nice to my main character, though. It's a nice relationship they have. That makes sense. That tracks. Mr. Cat, I got writing to do. Yep, absolutely lurk away. Feel free to mute and yeah, get your writing done, Mr. Cat. I hope the words treat you well. That's the fear too much in chapter 1. I am an opportunist if nothing else. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see where this goes. All right. After nearly, yep. I'm going to talk to Gord about going north. This is no land to raise your young. Martha frowned. Her eyes fell on the ground as she thought for a moment. I don't think it's so bad. The Damascus Drake comes home rarely, so I'm assuming the Damascus Drake is the Damascus Demon. So it's just by another name. We just start calling it Drake now. So, I think that's, we'll see. The only reason why the only reason I might be wary about throwing too many names out there is you are introducing us to a lot of characters. You are doing, depending on who speaks them. I gotcha. Okay. The only reason I worry about doing that is because you have a lot of characters that we're getting introduced to a lot of things. So having to have a new character, a new name for a thing we've already been established might be too much. But he's always referring as Damascus. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I assumed it was the same character. It's mostly just the things that give me pause as I read. Comes home rarely is even more rare that he comes through town. He knows of the huntsman, and he has enough sense to be weary of them. He is certainly maliceful, but I don't think he's unnatural. Evil men exist as much as good ones. Okay, all right. I don't think I'd use maliceful. I'm assuming that's a word. I don't know if I've just never seen it used that way. Maybe he certainly has malice, but I don't think he's unnatural, something like that. Fanny raises an eyebrow. I would hardly call murdering your parents in cold blood at 10 years old natural. Oh, it is? It's when you enjoy it? Well, then you keep it. Fanny raised an eyebrow. I would hardly call murdering your parents in cold blood at 10 years old natural. That's not a boy who grew into something terrible. He was conceived like this. Okay, all right. Furthermore, we don't know what he is anymore, Martha. But with the amount of talk that surrounds Damascus Drake, it can't all just be Wild Rumor. Okay, very cool. All right, we're learning things. Martha kept her frown, but subsequently nodded. I suppose she looked as if she wanted to say more, but she bit her tongue and took a step out from under the canopy of the wagon. I should go back home and tell my mother. I doubt she's heard yet. Fanny sighed. That is for the best. I should be back to my husband and boys. I don't know why. I feel like she should refer to them as the boys, because I feel like someone of this age would refer to them as the boys. Or just include the husband and be like, I should be back to the boys. But perhaps not. Stay safe, my dear. She gave her a small, honest look before taking her leave in the opposite direction. Martha stepped out into the eerily quiet street and made her way home. You like that, yeah. I've heard people talk like this, and for whatever reason they always call them the boys. I should be back to the boys. Them ne'er-do-wells, always up to no good. Okay. The Boys, yeah. Kind of has a new name now because of the comic / TV show The Boys, but it's yeah. People say that. All right. She gave her honest. Fanny, yeah. Martha stepped down to the early. Okay, yeah, I'd probably split this instead of having this in a single paragraph. Martha stepped out into a nearly quiet street and made her way home. She passed under the creaking sign that read "The Hog Snout Pub." Hey, was that the pig that the kid was looking for? From the crack under the door, murmurings of an argument oozed into the street. I will never not read oozed that way. Ghostly, yo! All right. You're connecting. It's good. It's good. It's what you want. It's what you want. Bella O'Neill, if I hear one more word about Damascus Drake, I will not be held liable for my actions. A small, frowning brunette was standing at the bar, rubbing a sticky spot with a wet rag. I was worried that would go over heads. I mean, it could, but it's I don't know. You call it out pretty directly, so it's a good connection to have. All right. Buttercup, will you please just listen? Oh man, there's a character named Buttercup. It's a very Princess Bride of you. Buttercup, will you please just listen? A slightly less small blonde was sitting on the bar, half-heartedly cleaning a wooden stein. Funny story. Listen. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it just cracks me up. Let's see here. Okay. Hey, there's no shame in it. No shame in inspiration. Directly inspiration at all. He was seen on the road from Phillimore, which has no offshoot roads, not even a deer path. Tall grass with snakes surrounding it, as well as fences. I almost read something very different there. Tall grass and snakes surrounding it, as well as fences and gopher holes. Bella Bella's tone grew as she emphasized. She watched the ceiling and gestured with a rag-filled cup. Mercy me, not the mercy me. Mercy me, not the grass and the gophers, Buttercup said with a non-convincing mock horror. Okay. Mock horror works if you're going to say mercy me. She leaned down below the bar, dunking her rag into a bucket of water and wrung it out. Then, Bella continued, ignoring her comment, the huntsman that scouted the area came back with nothing. I'm assuming if it's past tense. The huntsman that scouted the area came back with nothing. A 7-foot man disappeared. Off a one-way road surrounded by fields. Or it's describing it real time. Sorry. Oh, princess. She slammed her sign down on the counter and turned her eyes to Buttercup. How do you explain that away? Boblicus, yep. She wishes she was that cool. She is that cool, but she's also being fussy. She's being a fusspot. Buttercup sighed as she leaned back and flung the wet rag in the air before her face, splattering her with water. He has long legs. He noticed he was spotted. He has long legs. He noticed he was spotted and knew the people would come looking for him. It took more than a few minutes for that little girl to get all the way back to town, even longer for the hunters to gather themselves and head out. He had plenty of time with those long legs to get to the tree line and disappear. Probably too many commas there. You could probably get rid of those commas. Unless you want the dialogue to be read with a pause there. He had plenty of time with those long legs to get to the tree line and disappear. It's too many commas. Unless for whatever reason you want it to be read in kind of like a pause, stilted manner. Oh, okay, you plan to be choppy? Okay. Oh, I see, I got it. He had plenty of time with those long legs to get to the tree line and disappear. Gotcha, okay, yep. Yeah. I mean, I can tell because like that's kind of how you would break up. It is hard. I mean, you might kind of instead of a comma do a dash or something. I'm trying to think what you could use to kind of get across that there's like a breath and a beat there because it just reads as not reading smoothly. If you want to have the dialogue be choppy, you need to like, yeah, she's being mildly condescending. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's right. Okay. She leaned on the bar and spoke in a low, tired tone. He might be strange, he might even be devious, but that does not make him the boogeyman. Okay, gotcha. Yep. All right. Bella wiped her face with her apron and frowned. Was that really necessary? I think it was, she nodded with self-assurance. The floor creaked under her as she waltzed around the bar and started wiping off a stool. Bella threw her legs over the other side of the bar, so she was still facing Buttercup. I agree. An isolated does not mean anything, but he is a repeat offender. He is a repeat offender of abnormality. Got it. I didn't realize being strange was a crime. The deep hickoryed eyes of a brunette remained on the stool as she scrubbed the layers of grubby grime left from smoke and alcohol. If that's true, you're a wanted woman. She glanced up at the blonde girl with a thin smile. She only frowned and crossed her arms. Why do you never take me seriously? She pouted. Probably because you've never said anything serious. Good call and repeat. Ugh, the girl hopped from the counter and stormed off into the back storage room. You're impossible, Buttercup. Buttercup sighed and closed her eyes. I am sorry, Miss O'Neill, but I refuse to humor your rumors about some wayward vagabond. I will not defend him of his alleged crimes, but I refute that he is some teleporting, crop-poisoning, dark magician that grows his power by eating the hearts of young women. Nice. It's a good line. It's good. Good little soapbox moment. I never said he ate their hearts. I only said he stole them. Yeah, that's good. Bella refuted from the back room. What use does he have? I do love me a soapbox. Hey, sometimes you need to have them. What use does he have of the women of Westshire, unless he's looking for a juicy story about the farmer's wife and her escapades with the traveling salesman? She moved from one bar stool to the next. Which farmer's wife? Bella asked quickly, sticking her head out of the back room. Bella? She threw down her rag on the floor with a splatter and looked at the girl under knotted eyebrows. Okay, I see your point. Bella held her hands up in defense as her eyes fell to the ground. My point is, we know practically nothing about him aside from the talk and the blossoms from the grapevine. And do you really think it's all just a rumor and lie? She leaned on the doorframe, her bright blue eyes urging some common ground between the two of them. Buttercup sighed and staggered up the stool, resting her head in her hand. Look, Bella, I don't know. I don't know what about the Damascus Drake story's history or legend, but I do know how much these people like having something to blame for their misfortune. Westshire loves having a villain to pin all their troubles and shortcomings on. It makes them feel like life isn't so unfair. Her eyes evened in a cold, dull stare into the bar. Her jaw tightened between her words. Maybe lose the into the bar part right here. That just makes it a little awkward. But life is unfair. Bad things happen, and it's not always the fault of a curse or a witch or a tall, dark stranger. Bad things happen to everyone, and there is nothing but existence to blame. And some people just can't accept that. Oh, we're getting a little existential here, Ghostly. We're getting a little humanist existentialism going on. All right, I'm here for it. Bella's lips thinned and she nodded. Her eyes tracing the grain. The grain in the floorboards. I just think he's scary, she said quietly. That's getting to the heart of the matter. She looked up from her hand. Her gaze softened just slightly. I know, and that's understandable. I think that weariness is wise, but let's not inflate things with rumor. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Bella's voice remained low along with her eyes. Buttercup sighed as she stood back on the stool. Didn't you mention yesterday we were low on ginger? Yes. Bella looked up, grasping for a subject change. We only have half a root left. Do you want me to fetch it? Her voice fell off a bit as her fearful eyes trailed to the door and more so the world beyond it. I would probably just do trail to the door and the world beyond it, even though the world's not open. You're kind of like, because you're kind of describing a stare to the middle distance kind of thing, like the ponderance they call it thousand-eyed stare, but like staring into the middle distance is what I assume you're describing here. I just might get rid of them more so. No, I'll do it before I'm off. Buttercup groaned as she arched her back and stretched with a few cracks. You stay here and lock everything up. Since your father is away on business, you can stay here until we open back up tonight if you'd like. Oh, yes, please, Bella said through a relieved breath. She fell forward into the bar towards Buttercup. Since I heard the news from the milk boy, I've been fretting my walk home. Then you need not walk home at all, Buttercup said simply. She reached down and picked her rag back up from its damp spot on the floorboards. She plopped it on the counter with a squish. Though you can make yourself scarce and tidy up while I'm out. Bella nodded emphatically as she snatched up the rag. I can do that. Will you be back until you're off until this evening? She pinched up her shawl that laid over the back of the chair and pulled it over her shoulders. Yes, I will pick up what we need from the Gen and drop it off before I leave. Bella pitched her tongue between her teeth as she started scrubbing on one of the bar stools. You be safe out there, Buttercup, she urged, looking up to meet her eyes. Buttercup backed into the door, the morning light streaming into the dark tavern. Lock the door behind me. I will be back in a few minutes. She gave Bella a small, encouraging smile before she pushed the heavy wooden door all the way open and stepped out into the street. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. All right, so aside from technicalities of language, Mr. DeCat, what can the cities of my medieval fantasy world use for light at night without electricity? I'm being stupid and can't decide. I mean, they could be some type of oil from an animal, like like whale. I mean, that's what whale oil was used for. That's why it was so, that's why it was so, it was useful. So I'd probably do something like that. Or you can have it be magic, depending on how magical. Sheep oil, yeah, sheep oil could also do it too. If you want it depends if you want it to be like magically inclined. That makes it more like electricity. It's like magic fire kind of thing. But usually it's like oils, things like that. Oil is a lot easier to control burn and burn for long periods of time than like a torch or something like that. Yeah, and back then that's true too. Going without light was because they didn't generally light at night. The stars, the moon, yeah, those things too. I kind of want to have something, but thank you for the idea. Gotcha. Okay, all right. Okay, Ghostly. So, a few things. I'll say the big thing that I like about this is, and I don't know how much this all feeds. I know that this is kind of your road hangout. It's definitely a very good hangout story, mainly because I really like the way that you're transitioning. It's kind of like a floating camera where you're kind of transitioning from a bunch of different little dramas in this town and moving in and examining these characters. Can you define hangout? A hangout movie or hangout story or hangout movie is literally you are just hanging out with characters. So there's very little plot. There's very little thing. So the thing that this is going to be a very like tall order, but structurally what it feels like you're doing here is very similar to honestly what made Ulysses James Joyce's masterpiece, which is you are just moving in and out of people's lives in a town. And that is what made James Joyce's Ulysses such a groundbreaking novel, is that it manages to propel you through both theme and character and story without there being a story. You're just hanging out with these people in through a week in this town in Dublin, in Ireland. And you're kind of doing that here. So structurally, I think what you're doing here is far more like I have a tendency towards stories like this because I like these kinds of stories where we just get to exist with people. So just knowing that structurally what you're doing, I'm on board with. It really picks up with the bar scene. But the thing is, once the story gets going, it shifts from focusing on different people. We hone in on two as the world shifts around them. Okay, that's cool. I think you should do your own thing structurally with how you want this to work. But I am saying what you're doing already is actually pretty complicated structurally that not a lot of people tend to write this way. So the fact that you're doing it, and you're doing it relatively well, is a strength. It's a strength. And I think you should lean into that because you don't see this a lot. But I definitely would suggest if you read, I mean, Ulysses is a tall order, but like reading something like James Joyce's Ulysses, if you can ever stomach reading that, I would highly recommend it. Because it's a good it's a good starting point for someone to see how people do this type of storytelling. The other thing that I will recommend to you, and these are movies, is Slacker by Richard Linklater. Linklater is kind of the granddaddy. I wouldn't even say granddad, but he's like known for making hangout movies. That's just what he does, is hangout movies. But if you ever get a chance to watch Slacker, this opening chapter reminded me of the way Slacker is. Imagine a feature film that is just this first chapter, and that is what Slacker is. It's just moving through different vignette scenes through Austin, Texas, is what it is. Another good example, another good movie that maybe you would want to check out is Dazed and Confused, which is also Linklater. That's more about graduating from high school, but it's similar structurally, where you're just following these groups on their last day of high school before they enter adulthood, and obviously pointing at broader themes. Or George, if you want to go old 50s with it, George Lucas's American Graffiti is also a good movie to do that with. So just those are more like just references if you end up wanting to deep dive into that or see other media. So that is the sort of what I think is the most interesting and lends to your writing style. The thing is you're very good at dialogue and writing characters, so the argument between Bella and Buttercup is really good. It's captivating, like you're holding my attention. Maybe a little bit of more of that at the beginning. The gossipy stuff is funny, but for whatever reason that doesn't hook me as much. I don't know why, but I might think about, let's see here. The thing that you need to do about this, the thing is you have to be very, very explicit with what you're trying to do and very clear about what you're trying to do because you have no plot going on. So you need to make sure that it's captivating, it's very clear what people are talking about, and it's clear emotionally to the reader. And for whatever reason, the gossipy one doesn't hook me nearly as much. The opening is good as long as you clear up some of the sort of like some of the tech stuff that's a little confusing. But I feel like the gossiping between the two women at the fruit stand could be clearer in what you're trying to get across. I did this style for the purpose of world building and scene setting. I deeply wanted the reader to feel like they were close to these people, maybe uncomfortable. So that's great, and the way that you're approaching it is the most effective way to do that. So you're not wrong, and I do think what you're doing is interesting. If you're going to start this way and slowly hone in on the two characters as the world begins to shift around them, I think that I'm trying to think if I've seen that in a story, that kind of structure. And I don't think I have, so I think you should definitely lean into that because it sounds really, really compelling and unique. So that would be my thing. I had an idea about having the fruit stand guy randomly speak up and make it very obvious. Yes, yeah, I think making him relevant in that scene would be good, or that he's viscerally aware of these two people gossiping about him and wants to make it abundantly clear that he's essentially trying to interrupt their conversation because he wants them to go talk somewhere else, like something like that. Loud Kitty is loud. That's why we call her the princess. She likes to run up and scream into the mic. I have a little goal of mine, and it is the evolving genre. I'm a big fan of things that are genre-less. If you can tell things that have genre elements, but you move beyond genre, that's when I think you're doing the best kind of storytelling. Babakis, what does this mean? What does what mean? Did I say something? This? I like this. That's good. Very important job she has. She does have the job of screaming at everybody and everything at all times. Oh, evolving genre. Okay. I mean, I don't know what ghostly means by it, but I do like stories that break genre, that can use genre conventions in an interesting way, but try to step outside genre or use the things that make genre interesting to tell unique or distinct stories that might lie outside of that genre. So you can use like cosmic horror elements in a story that is not actually cosmic horror, or you could use fantasy tropes, but it's not really about fantasy, or tropes, but you can use them structurally to try to create a sort of broader tapestry. That would be my definition of moving genre beyond genre. I meant something that flips its own genre. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, so it starts off one thing and then twists into another thing. That's good too. That's good. It's always a good way to reveal. My entire life's goal is to eventually deconstruct genre, because I think some of the greatest works of art defy genre, even though they oftentimes are deeply in genre. That, it's like, what are they? And they kind of move beyond just being in a genre. For instance, this starts as a hangout thing, but over time it evolves to an action and romance and a horror. Yeah, so you're just putting everything. I do eventually have horror. Very exciting for those bits. I'm excited to read those. I'm very excited to see how you write horror, Ghostly. Um, I do not associate your writing with horror, so that'll be interesting. Fantasy is a hard genre to break out because it's Babakis. It also has so many subgenres that there's like a subgenre for everything. Um, but like, and sometimes it gets hard. Like I know that I would call things fantasy stories, but really they're more in line with like magical realism, things like that. So that can be hard. So I just tend to I tend to try to like really, if you can push the edges of the genre, I think you're doing a good job. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to subvert genre in all cases. You just need to kind of push it. Because if you can push it into new places, that's where interesting things start to happen. And those are the kinds of interesting things that created that genre in the first place. Is that by pushing at the edges of other genres, other subgenres, is kind of how they opened up into new possibilities. And I think if you can find where your own artistic voice lends itself, that if you can lean into that, you can try to really push into that. I think that's how most new genres and new interesting stories in genre are discovered, by figuring out yourself and what you lend yourself toward and leaning into it. And I think you're doing a really good job with that, Ghostly. You definitely, of all things that you do not lack voice and you do not lack point of view. So you've got two very strong things going for you to begin with, and you commit to those things very well. So, I got a fantasy mech story I'm working on. Very cool. I love that. I mean, I'm writing a mech trilogy, a film mech trilogy right now as well. It's been done before, but by my knowledge, that's one of my all-time favorites. I love Escaflowne. Yeah, because it's like old Arthurian medieval fantasy, but the mechs are the armor suits. It's cool. I mean, and even before Escaflowne, that's been done before. Like, Aura Dunbine is kind of like that. So, I think Escaflowne is the first time it was like an isekai, which is interesting. Ghosty, my greatest fear is exposition, and I am consistently concerned about it. Yeah. I think because you're having everybody talk about their own points of view about a general singular thing that's happening here, I think that you're doing okay. The fact that you have it all very specifically focusing on, that you have it focusing very specifically on the Damascus thing, I think that makes your exposition work, because you're not just like, oh, and then there's this thing. Like, you are literally expositing on the gossip of the town. So I think you're safe. I think in some cases it just needs to be a little bit more explicit and a little bit more clearly stated. I think you need to be very clear up front so people don't get lost. Because I can track where you're going and what you're moving, but I think in the nitty gritty of the conversations, it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. I feel that counts as a genre bend. Yeah, it does. I agree, Babakis. Escaflowne would be an example of that. It was also isekai and kind of like a mech fantasy. Wait, tell me about the other anime. It's called like Aurora Battler Dunbine. Yeah, Aura Battler Dunbine. It's done by the same guy who did Gundam by Tomino. I've only seen bits of it. I haven't seen all of it, but it definitely is like, it's definitely of the super robot genre, but it's a fantasy thing on the super robot genre. But I would recommend that if you're wanting to try to find similar things. Yeah, Aura Battler Dunbine. Yeah, Aura Battler Dunbine. Oh, you found it. Oh, well, okay. Well, you got it. Yep. I was also worried I beat the dead horse when I came to it. No, I think it works, and you're kind of getting different perspectives on that character, Ghostly, which is what you want. You want kind of people having different opinions, ideas, and things like that. There's always kind of a contention. It is a little redundant where you've got the two bar folk kind of talking about it, and like you have the two ladies, and one of them clearly is like, he's a monster, he's not, so you're kind of having the same argument. So maybe if you can find a third way to have them talk about it and give that person that point of view, maybe try to lean into that a little bit, because there is a little bit of overlap between one of them's more like dismissive about it and like kind of like, I don't know, that sounds a little hokey, and the other one's like, no, total monster, total monster. It's similar. It's not as cranked to 11 as the bartender fight or a conversation about it, but it's the same thing, really. They're kind of having the same exact conversation, just in essence, expressed in a very different way, but essentially it's a similar conversation. How did you think the characters? How old do I think the characters were? Sorry if I'm harping. Is that what you were asking, Ghostly? Okay, it's science fantasy also adds. Oh, gotcha, you're hit by ads. Yeah, it's science fantasy. I mean, where Escaflowne is more isekai mech fantasy. Oh, you were wondering about how do you think the characters were? Oh, gotcha. You were just wondering about the characters themselves. The most memorable, like the ones that clearly stick out to me, are the bartenders, because they have the strongest voices out of them. The two boys at the beginning, did we even get the young boy's name? Oh no, we did. Yeah, we did. Dimitri. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was like, duh. Yeah, we did get the young boy's name. It's Dimi. Yeah. Or Dimitri. Yeah, the Dimitri and the brother stand out because they're kind of mysterious and they don't belong, and you go from two characters who don't belong there to then living in the world of characters who belong there, arguing about things. So that works. The two that are the least are like obviously Fanny and but I think that's less, for me. I think that's just the way they're written, kind of like they're kind of written to be right offable. That's kind of what you're going for, Fanny and Martha. But the third one that didn't belong, the third character, I don't think I did. Oh, I don't think I did. Wait. Huh. Oh, Buttercup. Okay, that makes sense. It also makes sense why Buttercup is now being defensive. Gotcha. I missed that line. That's a good point. There you go. Then he looks at the piggy sign. Okay, yeah, I was wondering how you were going to... I figured that was a later chapter where you were going to connect... them to the bar. But I guess that makes sense why Buttercup takes off. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So if Buttercup doesn't belong in that, and the way the rest of the town, then it's especially imperative that we get a different viewpoint with the gossipy scenes, I think. Yeah. Because at that point, of the people in the town that you're getting, you're connecting Buttercup and Dimitri and his brother. I forgot what his brother's name was. It's like Harry, or it's not Harry, but it's I'll get there. Hayward. There we go. I'm very... Oh, good. Well, feel free to drop them in. I'm absolutely down to continue reading them. So, but yeah. All right. I think that is gonna do it for the stream. We have finished our sprints for the day. I am gonna go make myself some dinner and relax because I am very tired. But it was an absolute delight getting to read this, Ghostly. And I would very much like to continue reading it. So once you feel like those are ready, if you want, I can read them off stream. But yeah, I hope it was helpful. I think you're gonna I'm always gonna say I think everybody's gonna get a lot more from having an actual editor or like a prose writer read or edit this stuff. But I am flattered that you want me to read it and give my thoughts. So as much of a not prose writer as I am, but but I think that will do it for the stream. So I don't think we're going to be able to pull out a stream tomorrow. I wanted to originally do a Sunday stream, but that's probably not going to happen. So we're going to tentatively say that hopefully next week everything chills out and we can stream Tuesday and Friday and maybe a Thursday because I want to try to get back to 3 streams a week. So we'll go ahead and aim for that. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a lovely, lovely rest of your weekend. And we will see you all next time. Have a good night. See you tentatively Tuesday. Tentatively Tuesday, Ghostly. Take care, everybody. Babakis and Mr. DeCat. I hope you all have lovely evenings. Everybody out there writing, take care. Hope the words treat you well. And we will see you all next time. Happy writing, everybody. Love you all. Take care.